Before O.J., before Britney, before Diddy, there was Fatty Arbuckle, Hollywood's original scandal magnet. Back in the 1910s, this guy was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. We're talking silent film royalty. Charlie Chaplin-level famous. But in 1921, it all fell apart. Fatty threw a wild Prohibition-era party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. The booze was flowing, and so was the gossip. And then, actress Virginia Rappe collapsed. 4 days later, she died. Arbuckle was arrested and charged with manslaughter. There would be 3 trials and 0 convictions. But after his 3rd trial ended with a hung jury, the studio heads decided they'd had enough. His career was done. Hollywood had its first true scandal, the likes of which it had never seen and never would again. That's right, you heard me. Hollywood was rocked to its core. In today's episode, we'll find out what really happened at that infamous party. Was Fatty a killer? Let's get into it. If you are a fan of silent films, then you most likely have heard of Fatty Arbuckle. Born in 1887, his real name was Roscoe Arbuckle. He started performing in his teens, first in vaudeville acts, then in short films. By the time he was 25, he was making $1 million a year and was one of the biggest stars in the world. Fatty was a huge fan of throwing parties. This much is true. The kind of bash he hosted could only be described as Gatsby-esque. In attendance would be fellow silent film stars, directors, and producers. It was said that no one could throw a party like Fatty. That was until that fateful night in September of 1921. On September 2nd, 1921, Fatty was hosting a party in his suite at the San Francisco's swanky St. Francis Hotel. The guest list was a who's who of Hollywood. Director D.W. Griffith, actors Monty Banks and Wallace Beery, producer Joseph Schenck, and many more. The party was in full swing when suddenly Fatty noticed a new face in the crowd. Her name was Virginia Rappe. She was an aspiring actress who had recently moved to Hollywood from New York. According to some reports, she was also the girlfriend of Fatty's friend, producer Joseph Schenck. Fatty immediately took notice of Virginia. He was instantly smitten, and he made it his mission to make her the star of the party. Witnesses say that Fatty introduced Virginia to everyone at the party, and he made sure that she got a drink in her hand. All of this was witnessed by Mabel Normand, an actress who would later star alongside Fatty in several films. As the night wore on, Fatty began to get more and more tipsy. At one point, he picked up Virginia and carried her to his bedroom. Everyone assumed that nothing had happened between them. After all, Virginia did leave the bedroom a short time later, looking refreshed and ready to party. What happened next has been the subject of much debate. According to Mabel, Fatty and Virginia left the party together and went to a restaurant for a late-night snack. Other reports claim that the pair left the party separately and met up at the restaurant. Whatever the case may be, the two left the hotel around 1 a.m. When they returned to the hotel, Fatty helped Virginia to his room. He was, after all, a gentleman. As the night wore on, the partygoers slowly made their way back to their rooms. Sometime around 4 a.m., someone heard a scream coming from Fatty's room. When police arrived, they found Fatty standing in his negligee in front of a closed door. When asked what had happened, Fatty told the police that Virginia had gone to the bathroom and had accidentally locked herself in. A few minutes later, he opened the door, and inside they found Virginia lying on the floor in a pool of her own vomit. She was still breathing, but she never regained consciousness. Doctors were called, and when they arrived, they discovered that Virginia had suffered a ruptured stomach and was suffering from acute colitis. The doctors told the police that this could have been caused by drinking bootleg liquor. The next 4 days were filled with drama. On September 6th, Virginia was taken off of life support, and she died. The coroner ruled that her death was caused by acute colitis due to drinking illicit alcohol. On the same day, Fatty Arbuckle was arrested and charged with manslaughter. As the news of Virginia's death spread, the press descended on the story. Every paper had something to say about Fatty. Some were supportive, while others were less than kind. In October of 1921, Fatty's first trial began. It lasted for 8 days. The prosecution argued that Fatty had given Virginia the bad liquor, which caused her to die. The defense argued that there was no way that Fatty could have known that the liquor was bad. The jury deliberated for 2 days before reaching a verdict. They found Fatty guilty of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but he was released on bail pending the outcome of his appeal. In February of 1922, Fatty's conviction was overturned and his case was sent back down to the lower court for a new trial. Fatty's second trial began in April of 1922. This time, the jury deliberated for only 10 hours before returning a not guilty verdict. A third trial was scheduled for December of 1922, but in a surprising move, District Attorney said that he would not seek a third conviction. With his legal troubles seemingly behind him, Fatty was ready to move on with his life, but it was too late. His reputation was ruined. The public had turned on him, and the studio heads had no interest in hiring him. Fatty spent the rest of his life trying to make a comeback. He appeared in several low-budget films, and he even did a tour of the vaudeville circuit. But he was never able to regain his former popularity. Fatty Arbuckle died on June 29, 1933. At the age of 46, he had suffered a heart attack while filming a movie. At the time of his death, he was working on a comeback special for radio. So what really happened at that party? I'll let you decide. Thanks for watching.